Tonight I'm going to be talking about accountability and I'm laughing because I'm going to hold myself accountable. And just to let you know, my name's Ashley. I'm a therapist. I specialise in addiction and trauma and childhood. And I've also overcame addiction, which I think is the most important thing to qualify us to be talking about addiction. Let's be real. And I've also experienced loved ones who've struggled with addiction, so I know what it's like from all angles. I've also studied it to a very high level. So tonight I'm going to be talking about accountability, and the reason why I'm going to be talking about it is because I'm actually going to hold myself accountable. So I've said since I've started these lives that everybody keeps asking us about my addictions I've had and overcame, and I've been open and honest. And I've always said that I've still vape, so I've overcame ketamine addiction and various other addictions. But the next one I'm going to tackle is vaping. I've smoked cigarettes since I was 12, and I then switched to vaping after I had my son, which was 4 years ago. And I'm doing an addictions group with a few people who've been on my lives. And I was going to wait until February. I had a specific end date for vaping in my mind. But I thought, you know what it is? You're doing an addiction group with a group of people who are all turning up and with the hope to stop whatever it is their addiction is. And I thought, do you know what it is? I'm just going to get on that train. So I want to talk about accountability and why it's important. So accountability in the right environments is really helpful for addiction recovery because, and I'll explain the environments, the caveat to accountability. But accountability is great because it does two things. First of all, if we actually hold ourselves accountable and get that win under our belts, so every time we think about engaging in the addiction and we think, oh, we did tell that person, and we get over that craving, we actually get dopamine, which is going to be super helpful when our brains are at a dopamine deficit when we first give up the addiction. So accountability is good because it gives you dopamine. The flip side of that is we are social creatures, and it is hardwired into our brains to be accepted by our tribe. So there's certain parts of pathways of the brain which light up when we experience a healthy amount of shame. So having an accountable person can bring up a little bit of shame when you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to tell them that I've messed up and I don't want to do that. So you're actually hijacking our brains in a positive way because as human beings, we are extremely sociable and actually our survival depends on being accepted. Now, I'm going to caveat that because I said there's certain conditions needed for accountability. If we experience tough love, like intense shame, that is not good for addiction. If somebody is making you feel like they're judging you and it's not coming from a place of empathy, it's coming from a place of looking down on you and judging you, that's severely detrimental. But if the person who you're holding yourself accountable with wants the best for you, they're gonna hold you accountable, but they're doing it from a place of support, non-judgment, empathy, and also if you get it wrong, they're not going to come down on you, then that's brilliant. So I'm holding myself accountable with you guys. I'm starting my addiction recovery group in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm going to quit vaping. I've already gotten over ket addiction, so I know I can do this. I've quit other various addictions, but yeah, I'm going to hold myself accountable and do it with you guys. And I'm hoping that you lot are the right empathetic environment that I need for that. Yeah, there's somebody who's came on. Hi, Brian. So Brian is in the AA and they have nailed accountability with sponsors because as I was talking about before, you get somebody who's going to hold you accountable, who isn't going to judge you if you fall off the wagon, because Brian and other people who are listening, let's be real, hardly anyone stops an addiction the first time they say they're going to. So it's empathy, non-judgment, but also accountability, and it's the perfect golden balance of it. But yeah, Brian, let us know how you're finding the AA. And what would you say is the best for anybody who's listening? So anybody who's I like to think of it like veterans, like recovery veterans, anybody who is overcame addiction. Please let people who are watching just know some tips and tricks or things that's worked for you and hasn't, because realistically the best people to help people is those who've been and done it, and I don't want to be the only person helping us when I've got loads of people who are doing it brilliantly. Hi, what's the subject? You missed it. Accountability. I've got a bit of a weird smile on my face because I'm holding myself accountable. So I'm starting an addiction group that I've been talking about a lot, and I was going to stop vaping. I was going to do it on my stop date for Ket, because I think an end date can be good if you're struggling to make that jump. But I'm gonna stop with the guys in my group. I'm gonna go through it with everyone. So I'm letting you lot hold us accountable. But yeah, do you know what, even saying, I knew, and I was saying, right, I'm going to go on and I'm going to say it on my live that I'm going to stop vaping. And I could hear that little voice inside going, oh, but do you want to tell them yet? Because if you don't, you're going to look stupid. And I thought, no, you're not talking us out of it. It's funny though how that little addiction voice comes out. But yeah, that's the thing. We're talking about accountability and how it activates the shame response, but not enough to flood us with shame, which can be detrimental and lead into more addiction, but just enough, if you're doing it with the right people, to just like keep you accountable. And also when you get those wins, you get dopamine. So let's see what people are saying. I've just celebrated 2 months on Saturday, KD Grow. I love that. 2 months is good. You've got the first 3 weeks are bloody hellish, but your brain is massively rewiring now. How are you finding it? Are you starting to get the sparkle back in life? And yeah, how are you finding it? Let us know. And what is it that's been keeping you going? Because you're kind of just about to go over the trenches, but you've been in the trenches and you've still managed to do it for 2 months, which is exceptional. Because the amount of times that I did not get to that 2 months is, God, I couldn't even count. I couldn't even tell you. Lots. So yeah, I love that for you. Hey, real quick, because I have to get to work, I do not get notifications when you go live, and I always love the lives. I don't know how people would get. Do you subscribe? I take it. I'm on the same time, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. GMT time, and I've never missed a live yet. So just try and set your alarms. Subscribe, guys, as well. I don't know why it doesn't notify you, but thanks though for the feedback. I love that. I live in Turkey. My late mother was from Scotland. I'm going to Turkey again in March. I say every year. I've went the last 2 years for my birthday, but it's going to be an annual thing. I love it. I've been twice and this will be my 3rd time. I also love Scotland as well though. Edinburgh. Yeah, Edinburgh's so lush. I go there quite often. Well, again, kind of exaggerating, but it is lush. Are you a pilot in Turkish Airlines? Maybe you'll be flying us. Probably not, but... Chicken on biscuits. How are you? Are you getting dopamine with us here? Yes, absolutely. Of course I am. Not just dopamine, oxytocin, like connecting with people. Huge dopamine. What dopamine does is it motivates you to seek reward and pleasure. I get such a kick out of doing this. First of all, I'm being of service. I'm doing something that's voluntary, that's helping other people. And they always say there's no such thing as a good deed, because we get kicks of dopamine, oxytocin, so I'm loving it. And then I'm having people like CAG, I don't know how you say it, CAG saying, oh no, it wasn't CAG, KD Grow saying, I want to come back. And, it's a feedback loop. I'm helping people are helping me as well. I love how people are starting to talk to each other in the comments. It's lush, it's building a little community. So yeah, I'm absolutely getting dopamine, and I encourage, and also I'm geeking out about something that I love: neuroscience, psychology, counselling, addiction. I've studied it, I would encourage anybody who's struggling with mental health or addiction to find something that they love to geek out on and do it. And if you can help other people along the way, throw that in the mix. You love my accent, thank you. So let's see what other people. My flight to be Glasgow in 3 days. I like Glasgow. Do you stay over then when you fly to different places? I went to see the Stone Roses at Glasgow. Oh my God, that was the best gig I've ever been to in my life. It was something else. The opening, if anyone knows Stone Roses, I Want to Be Adored, and there was loads of coloured cannons going off. Oh, so good. Right. March. Yeah, it's my birthday in March, so I'll be going to Turkey in March. Can't wait. I love it because we always go like just after my birthday because it starts to get really nice and warm. Jason, you have a dirty therapist. What do you mean? In what way? Like the unhygienic? I don't think you mean in that way, but do they just have a potty mouth or are they like being unethical? Or are you just talking rubbish? I don't know. Let us know. Oh, Jason, man, stop it. You're gonna, I need some moderators on because you're gonna get kicked out, Sonny Jim. Right. My sisters will live in Aberdeen. I've been Aberdeen, I used to work there. Green Aline, nice to see you. I feel like you always catch the back end of it now. I'm doing really good. I was just saying, I'm holding myself accountable. I'm doing my addiction group is starting in a couple of weeks. I'm going to quit vaping. And I feel like ketamine was really hard, but vape, like I've had nicotine daily in my system since I was 12, potentially 13. I'm 36. So I did stop as well for about 2 or 3 weeks just before I went to Turkey. Oh no, Barcelona. And I had a drink, so I've got to really protect myself over Christmas, which means I'm probably not going to be drinking on Christmas. But it was absolute hell on earth. I couldn't sleep. I was like rattling a little bit, not as bad as I have off my prescription drugs, but it wasn't nice, and I just felt like crap. Jason, you will never be a moderator. Believe you me. You need to moderate yourself, man. Start moderating yourself. I might consider it. Right, Jaylee. Who are you? My name's Ashley. I'm a therapist. I specialise in addiction because I've studied it for years. But I also have worked with veterans. That was part of my career. I've worked with all different types of things. So it's called School of Addiction. I've also overcame addiction as well. So, and I'm about to tackle vaping, which I'm dreading. I really am, guys. But you know, gotta put me money where my mouth is, don't I? Really. So yeah, so basically I'm just come on every Monday, Wednesday and Friday and just answer questions about addiction, recovery, just also try and just, I think one of the things I really needed in my recovery was just for somebody to say, it's okay, it's not your fault, but you know, let's try and do differently and here's how. And I'm trying to be that person for somebody else because that's what I needed. Brian, are you in AA? I'm not, no. I did go to AA for a little bit during COVID and then I got pregnant. So then I stopped and that really motivated us. And then I ended up, I lost the baby. It was a molar pregnancy, which was like a non-viable pregnancy and straight back on ketamine, like the same day. I was just devastated. It was my first ever pregnancy. And it was really traumatic as well because it was during COVID. So the procedures were, well, everybody knows what medical treatment in COVID was like. So yeah, I did do it briefly. I didn't get as far as a sponsor, but I've got mass respect for AA. Definitely. There's a lot of things I agree with. There's some things that I don't fully align with, but I would suggest to anyone to do it 100%. I think the only thing that I don't like about it, and I don't know what your thoughts are, Brian. I'm not dissing AA, by the way. Like NA, it was a really great step in my recovery because when you go along and you're riddled with shame, and the people who stand up and tell you their story are so inspirational. I think pretty much anyone who's got to the point of addiction has struggled somewhere in life. And then if you can overcome it, I think instantly, you're already doing something that a lot of people couldn't. So it's really inspiring. And when people are being so open and honest, it really helps you dismantle shame. So I think it's really great. But Brian, the only thing I had an issue with was having to say, hi, my name's Ashley and I'm an addict. And I really don't like that saying, because for me, I don't identify as an addict now. I've recovered, I've put that to bed. But, that's me being nitpicky. I don't know what you think about that though, because I understand why they do it. It's to remind you that you're always susceptible. But yeah, disagree, but that's a counsellor in us. Yeah, but how are you finding it, Brian? And what would you say is like the best, something that you would say to somebody who's on the fence of going to AA or NA? Yeah, you've been there to AA or NA, Jason. Green to lean. I don't necessarily have addictions, but I've been depressed, losing all my family, and I'm not caring for myself well. Yeah, do you know, addiction is just a manifestation, and depression is also that. And it sounds like you've been through complex grief, and if you're struggling to care for yourself as well, I'm really sorry to hear that. Is there anything that I can support you with? Even if that's a one-to-one phone call or Zoom, I'm happy to do that, Green to lean. But yeah, and it's understandable, grief is such a painful part of the human experience, and I'm really fortunate, because the only grief and loss I've experienced, I've had 2 friends commit suicide. That was really hard, but I haven't. In terms of my family, I've lost my gran and grandpa, and they were the elderly, and one had dementia, and they both lived great lives, and my grandpa was just ready to go. So it wasn't complex grief and loss. And also with my friends, they weren't in my closest circle, they were just like friends. Yeah, so I just can't fully identify with what you're going through, but I understand that it's really hard, and I'm sorry that you're going through that. Right, let's see what other people are saying. Yeah, but Green to Lean, let us know if you want some support, because I've done quite extensive training in grief and loss. I did a 6-week grief and loss course. I've done a lot of other training around it, and I'm happy to support you. Right, burying a foxhole, lol. I don't know what you're lolling at. Jason, okay, good luck. Good luck with what? Aussie, I'm not an Aussie. I'm from Newcastle. I don't sound Australian. I don't know. Where are you from, Rescue? Because I feel like you must not be from England if you think I sound Australian. Right, Santiago, down calm. What does that mean, down calm? Para, are you familiar with the septum ring theory? I'm not, no. Let me know. Let me know. Oh, yeah, right. I need some moderators. Where are they when I need them? Right. You make us feel shy now, guys. Do you know what? Screw yous. No, I'm joking. I don't mind. Oh, Brian, I worked in ITU in COVID. It's the reason I went to AA, because I drank to numb, not addicted. I'm glad you shared your, I feel like there's more to that, opinion. Best this from AA I have is prayer. Worst thing is everything was my fault, which it wasn't. I had to have outside therapy for this. So do you mean with AA, do you mean the addiction, the worst thing for your addiction was your fault? Or do you mean, just with you saying the best thing from AA that you have was prayer, the worst thing was addiction? Do you mean, was your fault? Are you saying that the AA made you feel like it was your fault? Or are you saying that the addiction made you feel like it was your fault and praying helped? But yeah, I'm really spiritual. And that really did help us. I don't think you have to be spiritual or religious to get over addiction. I say this all the time. But I think just connecting with something outside of yourself. You know, a lot of things with religion and spirituality are really helpful. And part of that is this idea that one, we're not alone. So we can get that from connecting with other people. Two, that everything happens for a reason. I found that really helpful in my addiction recovery, and I'm starting to see that reason unfold now. So I'll stand by it. But you could argue that I'm just doing that because I'm spiritual and I told myself. But yeah. Right, Green Aline, thank you, you're welcome. Michelle Good, I started SAA recently, did my second meeting today. What's SAA? So I'm assuming SA. I'm trying to work out what SA stands for. I did NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous. Has anyone heard of SMART training as well? So I've trained up to do SMART training, which is a counselling, it's an alternative, and it's grounded in therapy. The thing that I'm doing is kind of in the middle. It's not religious, but it's taking things from both. So I'm doing my own addiction group, which is taking things from both different groups, like ideas from it, but then I'm also doing a lot of my own stuff in there. But yeah, I would just say any group, anything where you're listening to people who are opening up about addiction, anything where you're getting some practical strategies, because let's face it, if we're struggling to get sober by ourselves, it's not that you're failing, it's just you haven't got the right tools that you need. So any group, and just try all of them, find out what works for you. Para 13, 29, 33. Yeah, that's it's a tattoo. So this is my spiritual journey. So when I was 13, my grandpa was a vicar. I couldn't understand it. I was just like, he was so intelligent and logical. He used to be an accountant and gave up accountancy and quite a bit of money to become a vicar. I couldn't understand it, so I asked him. This is getting quite spiritual, guys. Sorry, I'm not preaching to you. I'm just answering questions here. But yeah, I asked him, like, why does he believe in God? It doesn't make sense. And he said, think of your life with faith and think of it without. And I did it, and he's like, which is better? And I thought, well, with faith, it gives you comfort. And then he said, well, just have faith. So that's when I became agnostic. 29, I had a spiritual awakening. And 33 is the year that I started letting go of stuff that didn't serve us, toxic behaviours, people, environments. I'd already given up my addiction at 32, but I started to give up. What was it, 33? Oh no, it was 33. Yeah, I gave up my addiction when I was 33. Yeah, I just started letting things go, and I think that's a big part of spirituality or healing, just healing in general. And again, it doesn't need to be spiritual, but if we're gonna get sober and live a happy life or quit whatever addiction, it doesn't need to be sober. I think that limits it, alcohol and drugs. We need to let stuff go, because we need to recognize that there is stuff that is driving the addiction. We're medicating something else, and we need to let things go. And that is behaviors that don't serve us. Shame is a massive one. Overgiving, maybe. There's a lot of people pleasers who struggle with addiction. Grief and loss, we need to learn, and trauma, we need to learn how to let go. And this is where NA, AA, SA, whatever that is, allows you to let go of that, that forgiveness. And to be honest with you, quite often we need to let go of certain people in our lives, which is sad, but not always the case. But I've definitely jeopardized my addiction recovery for the sake of not letting people go in the past. People who they weren't holding us back, but I wasn't capable of being sober and clean around them. And that's really hard. Letting go of certain expectations, responsibilities, letting go of masks, Anyways, Jason, relax. I am quite relaxed. I've got ADHD, so Relaxed, not relaxed. Hi, everyone. Always, right. AA made it feel like it was my fault with addiction. However, prayer was powerful. Yeah, Brian. That's what I felt. That was my experience. And I get it. I get why that approach is there. But yeah, that's what I felt. And I absolutely think that it is really helpful. I think there's so much good stuff, but that was my experience. And I think the thing is, when we've struggled with addiction, we are so vulnerable in them early days because we're not getting dopamine. It's really depleted, which is a feel-good hormone. We're, really having to take on a huge task, a huge battle. We're having to be so resilient, and also we're dealing with all the stuff we've been pushing down, and we're having with often a lot of people are riddled with shame that they've either had prior to the addiction or they've accumulated throughout the addiction. Not everyone, but it's common. And I think you have this really fragile fragility about you, and I think anything that's slightly making you feel like you're doing something wrong and bad can be detrimental. But I've got to admit, when I got sober the last time, the first time I went to AA meetings, and that was a lot better than the second time I decided to reach out for support, and that was not helpful because nobody understood addiction. So there was some people going for the tough love approach. There's some people who were judging us, who didn't understand it. Some people were supportive, but I think the AA was definitely less made it feel like the support that I went for made us feel like it was my fault a lot more than what AA did. Right, Christ believer, I just stopped to tell you that Jesus died for you and that he loves you. Thank you. Well, Jesus was a real person. Has anyone ever read Who Moved the Stone? But we don't know if he actually died on a cross for us, but he was actually a legit person. Right, Jason Newton, I don't think I found the one. I don't think I ever will buy. I'm a wolf, sick of all these little sheep. Jason, you just need to, bark up the right tree. Like, I'm just putting out there, my tree's not the right tree, because I'm with someone. But, like, do you know what, I really struggled with that. I really, especially, so I became a single mom. I also became spiritual. I felt like I'd obviously came out of addiction. I'd let everybody know I had addiction. I also got diagnosed with multiple mental health disorders, and this was just happening like one after the other. It was quite bad. Like, my reputation was pretty goddamn low, and I felt that way. And I also felt so different to everyone. I felt like didn't fit in with my old group of people. I didn't have new people to fit in with. And I then got put in the dating world after 10 years of being off the market, and it was hard. And I've honestly dated about 50 people. Like, I don't do things in halves, me. I was just going for date and just, I'll see what everyone's about. I'm not going to judge. I'm just going to see how things go. I'm going to be boundaried. I'm going to treat it like a learning experience. And it took us a while, Jason, but I found someone who I'm getting on with now. It's been 6 months. It's going really well. I don't know the outcome of it. Obviously, we don't know the outcome of anything, do we, really? But I will say, the more I put myself out there, the more I found out what I did and didn't want, and the closer I got to finding someone. And I just, yeah, you can find another little wolf, a little lady wolf for you, Jason. Just not me. I'm not that wolf. I'm like a little cat. Right. Yeah, AA prayer is powerful, absolutely. And Brian, I want to say I think potentially we're in agreement. I don't know, it's hard to tell over little messages. I do genuinely believe that AA and NA is brilliant. I do believe it is. I just think there's certain things that don't work for everyone, and I'm a really sensitive person, and I was really vulnerable at the time, so that didn't work for me. But and I don't like I'm an addict, but there was so much stuff of it which was so important in my recovery journey and absolutely helped us. And the biggest thing was just people getting up and saying, I've done it. This is how I did it. And having hope. There's a process to go through, which, when you're stuck there trying to do it the same thing to stop and it's not working, but you've got no other option to just keep doing the same thing and it not working. It's just demoralizing. Right, to become a what? Green Alina, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean to become a what? I'm assuming you don't know what I'm talking about, and now I don't know what you're talking about. So a bit more context would be helpful, but sorry. User, would you like to meet up for a coffee or lunch sometime? I'm all right. I'm a single mom. Do you know what it is? It's actually quite hard to meet up with the people I've got in my life, to be honest with you. ASMR, how do I quit sex and cocaine addiction? So let's have a look. Okay, I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks, but what I will say, if you're in active addiction and you're wanting some support, just comment on any of my content, any of my shorts or lives, just saying support group. I'm doing a support group that you're welcome to join. And I also do one-to-one sessions, just so as a one-off for people. Like I say, I'm an addictions counsellor, so if you want some support with that, you can. But I think if you're gonna overcome any addiction, I think the thing that you have to do is learn to love yourself. And I know that's so broad, but the first thing is first. I think a good starting point is to look at why do you have an addiction in the first place, and try and explore that. Because if we understand why we've got the addiction, we can start to think, okay, how that is a roadmap to get yourself out of the addiction. The second thing is just every day love yourself. And what part of loving yourself is, if you understand why you're addicted in the first place, then what you can start to realize is, okay, this didn't come out of a vacuum, and actually it's quite understandable that I've got an addiction. So being able to say to yourself, okay, look, it's understandable you've got an addiction, so that's okay, let's not beat ourselves up, but we do need to find solutions, and let's work to do that. And there is so many solutions out there, but I would argue they're not going to work, or they're not going to stick if you don't love yourself. So the first and foremost is, how can I love myself more? So that looks like sitting there and observing your thoughts. So that's called metacognition. Thinking about, how do I speak to myself? What do I think about myself? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I love myself, really? How often do I say, like, look into the language. There's something called NLP, which stands for neuro-linguistic programming. And what it does is it talks about the language we use with ourselves are so important. The narrative we have with ourselves are so important. So look at the language that you use towards yourself. Are you berating yourself? Are you being mean to yourself? Or are you acting like your own cheerleader? Because you're going to have to be in the cheerleading group. So there was someone called it, is look at your brain. Is it a shitty committee in your thoughts? And if it is, change it to the positive vibe tribe. So I think that's a really good place to start. I've also done loads of tips and tricks on my other lives that you're welcome to look through. And I'll try and weave some in throughout the live. But I'm going to say what people are saying. And to try and keep it fair, guys, I'm just going to scroll at random and pick people, so everybody's getting a chance of saying. Oh, I've noticed there's some messages being retracted. I think I've got some moderators on. I don't know where you are or who it is. Oh, God. Barney Gumbles, so proud of you. Being a mother is amazing. You can always have a best friend with your child. I love that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I love being a mom, and I really want to have my son to be my best friend. So I'm really actively trying to create that relationship. And one of the problems is I didn't get off to a good start. So like the first 3 years are really important in attachment between parent and child. And in my son's first 3 years, I had two mental breakdowns. One of them was off the bat of, it was a combination of, I had some really hurtful things said to us repeatedly and about us that really impacted my mental health, alongside coming off addiction recovery, alongside becoming a single mom, and the thought is postnatal depression, and actually the circumstances triggered what they now know as a bipolar episode. So I was without my son because I was suicidal for 6 weeks, and that was really tough because I really wanted to be with him, but they were just saying I wasn't well enough, and I wasn't eating. I was they put us on milkshakes because I couldn't eat. I had zero appetite, and I don't know if anyone's experienced that as part of like severe depression where you just have no appetite. I didn't leave the house. I was really, really unwell. So that interrupted our bonding, and then again when I got sectioned, so both were to do with bipolar. So I really hope we're going to be best friends. We do have a lush relationship now, but it's been a tough road to get there. And apart from anything else, I really struggled to bond with my son. I think coming out of addiction, and I didn't have a healthy relationship with myself, let alone able to have a healthy relationship with my son. So I've always loved my son and I've always done my best, but I really struggled to connect with him the way that I do now. So yeah, being a mother is amazing. It's not for the faint-hearted, and it's even harder if you're going through addiction. So anyone who's mummies or daddies whilst going through addiction, or when they were, I really empathise with yous. How can I love myself when I'm a POS? POS, what's a POS mean? ASMR. If you want some support, honestly, I'll give you some one-to-one. But if you're struggling to love yourself, you can't just wake up and say, I'm going to love myself. First of all, you need to get curious of if you love yourself. Ask yourself an honest question and start to analyse where in your life it shows up that you don't love yourself. What is your environment showing you? Your friends, the job that you do, the relationships you have, the behaviors that you do, the addictions we have, they're all data on how much you love yourself. aka, are you loving yourself enough to put in boundaries? Are you loving yourself enough to be just to have a life that you're worthy of and deserving of? So first of all, get curious on to what extent do you or do you not love yourself? And then realize this is a skill. Like, you've spent however long not learning to not love yourself. It's been unconscious. And you can do so. I did something called the 21-day kindness pact. And every day for 21 days, because it's a bit of a myth, this, but there's some truth to it. But they say that it takes 21 days to create a new neural pathway in your brain. So a new identity, a new way of being. So for 21 days, I thought, right, I'm only going to be kind to myself. Even when it feels false, even when it feels like I don't deserve it, even when I'm feeling at my lowest, I'm going to be kind to myself. And you slowly but surely create new neural pathways where you literally learn to love yourself. There's lots of other techniques as well, and it's a big focus on my addiction group. So, but I'm happy to do a one-to-one as well. Right, let's see what else people are saying. Right. Barney, we have only just begun to live. We never stop learning and growing, 100%. And I've got to say, I hated myself. I really did. I didn't even realise I hated myself because I'd hated myself since the dawn of time. So I didn't even realise I hated myself. I love myself now. I've actually had people who I've dated say, you really love yourself. And I'm like, yeah, because and it's been in a way of like, oh, you're not humble. That's weird. I'm like, yeah, because I've been humbled my entire life. I love myself now. And I don't care what people think. I love myself loud and proud. So like you absolutely can do it. And I started to learn to love myself enough to be able to stop my addiction. Right. JP, what addictions do you suffer from? I'm new to this channel, so know nothing about you. So I used to struggle with ketamine addiction, was the worst. I was addicted to mind-altering substances, as my psychotherapist told us. Basically, I just was loved to be on planet off my nut in any which way, shape or form for the whole of my 20s. Quite a lot of me late teens. I tried my first drug when I was 13, 14, smoking weed. Then I tried, I think speed was the next thing I tried when I was 16. And then coke. And then, yeah, and then just everything. But yeah, ketamine was the worst. That was the one that was the scary one. Because the thing with, before that, so I'd binge on coke for a bit. I'd binge on alcohol. I think alcohol was always one that was in and out of. Cocaine was always one I was in and out of. Ketamine, you know, here and there, I'd get a little bit bad. But I always loved ketamine. I never took it on a regular basis. Except for when I lived in Ibiza. I remember I got addicted on my first ever season in Ibiza. I didn't really see it as an addiction because I came back and stopped. But looking back, I was. And then, yeah. Right. Delulu. Hi there. I've just seen your random live, and I'm curious about the topics. So please can you be more specific about what addiction you're talking about? Any addiction. So all addictions the same. I want to get StreamYard, guys, and I'm going to put some of this stuff up on StreamYard, can put in little prompts. But I'm an addictions therapist, and it's exactly the same application for any addiction. All addiction is the same. And Gabor Mate talks about this. He's an absolute leader in the field of addiction. People have probably heard of him. And he talks about how he was addicted to buying records, classical music, and it's the same reward pathways in your brain. And actually, I answer questions about mental health because addiction is just a symptom. It's a solution to a problem without a better solution, which is trauma, mental health disorders which haven't been diagnosed. So I know it probably seems like a bit of a mixed bag about what I'm talking about, but realistically, addiction's the same. So any addiction it applies, it's applicable to. And when I'm talking about mental health, that's part and parcel of addiction. So let's see what other people are saying. Zach, hello Zach. I'm sure I've seen Zach Cody. I'm sure you've been here before. If you're, hello again. If you're not, well, hi. How do I quit sugar addiction, especially sweets, any kind of candy? I've ate them since I was 2. Yeah, Zach. So sugar's the same as all addiction. But the thing with sugar is this is a bit of a tricky, so this is the thing. So I've said, I'm talking about all addiction. There is slight nuances in different addictions. Sugar's one of them because sugar's in everything. So it's a really difficult one. And I would say it's quite similar to alcohol, where it's not that alcohol's in everything. It's just, you're always going to be faced with the addiction. So the thing with ketamine is, one thing I was able to do was remove myself from people who take ketamine. That was, difficult to do, but a lot more doable than sugar. So when I've quit sugar, that's hard because I haven't fully been able to quit it because it's in everything. It's in carbs. So one thing that I did do is I detoxed from it first when I quit sugar. So and this wasn't that healthy. I ended up getting make myself quite unwell actually because I cut carbs out. So I would say keep carbs in, guys. Learn from my mistakes. But just remove all sugary snacks. So that includes getting rid of ultra processed food. So I started finding out easy meals which were home cooked. So, one pot pastas, Instagram and TikTok was amazing for this. But even just, going on Google, just writing in 3 ingredient pastas or one pot meals, because I didn't really know how to cook very well, like healthy food. And I was also vegetarian, so yeah, I'm rambling. So I learned how to make easy meals which weren't ultra processed. So I was cutting out like everything that we buy from the supermarket, which is processed food, it's just laced with sugar. So if you detox yourself, that's helpful in that sense. The other thing is reduce it down. So get rid of your habits. I say this is the same for every addiction. So if you struggle with sugar, when is the time that you have sugar most? So a way you can do this is say, right, I'm going to have an end date. So that might be, say, in 1 week's time. It can be a month, whatever. But say we're going to do a week. So in a week's time, I'm going to quit sugar, or I'm going to quit smoking or whatever. When you've got that end date, in this week leading up to it, you've got 3 jobs. The first one is to get curious about when you're leaning into the addiction. So is it you're doing it to socialize? So do you have sugary snacks with like your partner or your kids or whatever? Is it a treat? So I'm going to go out and have a nice, I don't know, sugary snack with someone. So is it a treat? Do you have it when you're feeling low, when you're stressed? Is a certain habit? So I have it as soon as I get back from work or on my dinner break or whatever it is. The second thing I want you to do in this week or however long until your end date is break that habit. So that them habitual ones, tackle them first. And it's just it can be as little as, I'm not going to do it for half an hour. I'm going to do something different. So replace the habit with something you enjoy. And you praise yourself at the end. So you're getting used to exercising control. So you're telling your brain, I can do this, but you're not overwhelming yourself with never. So yeah. And I would say the best thing you can do is praise yourself. And with the other ones, so I said to get curious about the different times you do it. Try and think of something which will help you. So for the times where you feel like, okay, I tend to eat it because I'm stressed, learn stress management tools. If you're doing it because you're bored, think about what can I do that I enjoy. So for me, it's learning. I'm spiritual, tarot, stuff like that. So buy yourself a new tarot deck. I like jiu-jitsu, do that. So replace it with something to fit the issue. If it's because you do when you feel bad about yourself, why? Ask yourself what happened just before I felt bad about myself, and then try and work on that. So I hope that was helpful. But yeah, we also need to remove ourselves from triggers. So try and don't buy sugary snacks. Right, let's see what people are saying. I'm so glad you overcame your affiliations. You look so vibrant and clear. Families are so vital. I lost my whole family. I'm so sorry about that, Barney. Do you have a support network around you? Like, do you have like a kind of a family? Like, so I've got like a little family, a little chosen family. And, they are so helpful. Right. Let's see what else people are saying. I'm just scrolling through random here, guys, by the way. Hi, Damo. I love your accent, thank you. I love myself at least twice a day. Good. I don't know if that's a sexual reference there or not, but yeah, I love myself in a non-sexual way multiple times a day. Jason is bored. Are you just boring yourself? I don't know what you're on about, Jason. You're just being a monkey. Right, let's see what else. Seawag, hello. Nice to see you again. How you doing? A new identity in your brain, that sounds good. Do you know what it is? It's start firing and wiring new pathways and you literally are rewiring a new identity. I am nothing like the person I was last year or the person the year before. So yeah. Congratulations on being sober, sis. Thanks, grateful. Somebody said, Aria said, today I look beautiful, thank you. I've been very unwell. I'm starting to feel a little bit more well, which is probably, I don't have many eyelids today. I can always tell when I don't feel right just by looking in the mirror because I think my face says it. I don't know if anybody else is the same. JP, exactly the same love being off the butt, but cocaine for me, ecstasy when I was a teen. Yeah, I used to love ecstasy. I never had an addiction to it though. I think we all have our drug and addiction of choice, don't we? And you know, there's normally a few. But mine was ketamine. Alcohol's always been problematic. I think if I didn't have other drugs, I 100% would have been an alcoholic if I didn't have access to drugs. But I found drugs more fun, whereas alcohol was more available and did something. So I've never had a love for alcohol. I don't like being too drunk. That's the problem. I like being tipsy. I don't like being really drunk. And I don't like the cringy, horrible stuff I do when I'm too drunk. I always wake up the next day like riddled with shame. So I think that was helpful. But yeah. Peter Scott, I think it's Pete or Pete. Is it bad that I drink every weekend? Look, I don't know how to answer that because I want to say multiple things. First of all, look, if you addiction is if you've got a problem that you want to stop and you can't, it's an addiction. You can only decide if something's problematic for you. I will say, you know, evidence and research shows that it's actually really detrimental to our bodies. You know, we're essentially lacing ourselves with poison. So I'm not going to say drinking every weekend's good, but I'm not going to sit here and judge anyone for drinking every weekend. You know, I used to drink socially up until literally weeks ago. Probably about, I don't even know, I haven't counted a date, but a couple of months ago. And I'm never saying never with it. Like if I go for a meal and I want to have a drink at a meal with somebody, because I don't go for meals often, that's one of my hard and fast rules. And hard and fast rules for people who don't know. So in addiction, everyone thinks that addiction recovery is abstinence, and it's not always. For some people, it absolutely has to be abstinence. For some people, they want it to be abstinence. But for some people, it's about getting control over it. So it's having, this is where hard and fast rules can come in. So for some people, it's more comforting knowing that I can have a drink at weddings and Christmas or whatever these hard and fast rules are. But it's important for them to be few and far between so that you can't fall into a cycle. It's important that you know your own limits and you recognize that might not be an option for you. And it's also important that we have accountability in that. There's a lot of factors to it. So hard and fast rules is an option for some people and it's something I follow. But yeah, so like I don't think it's bad that you drink every weekend. I don't think it's good. I think that's up to you to decide. And I'm not here to judge. It's just for some people, you know, it is bad. And it's really affecting the quality of life. For some people, it's not. For some people, that's the best times on alcohol and they've not struggled and they live. I mean, my grandpa used to drink wine. He lived until 97. It's 97? Late 90s. Did well. You know, so, but he lived a happy and fulfilled life and that worked for him. So, yeah, that's up to you to answer, Pete. Always remember to love yourself no matter what. Online people said, because God knows you more than people. Yeah, love yourself is so important. So, so important. And it's not easy to do. It's something you have to practice. But it's such a great, when you love yourself, what a good spot to be in. You start to get, the more I love myself, the less fucks I give what people think about us. Because I'm kind of like, I just love myself. So you can sit over there loving us, not loving us, judging us, not judging us. I don't give a crap. It almost makes you feel bulletproof. And if you love yourself, you know, part of that is you have to be proud of yourself. So I show up in a way that I'm proud of. I keep my side of the street clean. So yeah, I just don't give any craps what people think about us. It's a good place to be in. Jack, I love your long hair. Thank you. I chopped it all off in a mental breakdown, actually, there. And I grew it out. I quite liked it short, though. CWAG StreamYard, I'd love to come up. I'd love to come up. What do you mean? Oh, you want to come up and do a live? Okay, I'll do that with you. I'll let you. You get kicked off if you start being offensive, though. There's going to be some ground rules, CWAG. I like that you're opinionative. I like that you challenge us, but it's got to be a safe space for people. So can you keep yourself in check? That's the question. Shut up and clean your house. Oh, God, life's too short to over care about how clean my house is. I used to really, really hate that, you know. I used to be so stressed about my house, especially when I was a single mom. I used to literally put so much expectation on myself. I used to think I was failing as a mom. I was failing as a human being, especially because of ADHD. And I really don't care now. Like, I like to have my house tidy. I like to tidy it up. But if I'm tired or if someone's coming over, I don't care. Again, no F's given. Life is too short to be spending every minute of my life tidying up. And as soon as I'm making enough money to hire a cleaner, I will be hiring a cleaner. Screw that. I do like, though, pottering. I do enjoy a good potter. But yeah, I feel like you're probably projecting, though, Kermit. Maybe you shut up and go clean your house. Oh, God. Unstoppable persons or persons coming from destroyed family are often using drugs. I never was interested in that shit. Yeah. Or unstable. I thought you said unstoppable. I was thinking them two don't go together. Yeah, unstable. It is a lot of... There's the more ACEs you have, which is adverse childhood experiences, the more likely you are to have addiction or eating disorders, depression, anxiety, mental health disorders. So yeah, 100% agree with that, and so does the research, Calla. I wish you all had normal names. Can you not just be called Bob and Mildred, for God's sake? Like, why is all these weird names? I'm dyslexic as hell. Right, you're just getting called a couple of letters, all of you. Decipher if it's you I'm talking to or not. Right, Reg, tell this to my heroin addiction. Reg, if you want some support, comment on any of my content. I'm doing groups. I think I've already filled one, but I'm happy to run 2 a week. If you want some support with your heroin addiction, I'll give you a 1-to-1 session free of charge, and you can join the group free of charge. I've also got I've got somebody who I do a podcast with, which we've had to put on hold, who has overcame heroin use, and I'm sure she'd be happy to do a 1-to-1 with you as well. She is smashing life. So yeah. But yeah, it's not easy, and I really don't claim that it is. It's not, but there are people who do it. I've overcame my addiction. I'm not going to insult you by saying I've overcame heroin addiction. I haven't. I know it's other level of kettle of fish, but I know people who've overcame it. You can, but it's a lot of work, and I'm happy to support you in any way I can. But it's important that you get the balance in addiction of recognizing that it's difficult, so that when we struggle, we're not berating ourselves, because we're saying, like, look, this is a tough gig. So, like, it's okay that you're not getting it right. We just need to keep picking ourselves up and gathering strength and refining it, finding new people, new resources to help. But it's also important not to accept your fate that this is it, I'm a heroin addict, because I've accepted my fate as an addict, and it's horrendous and it's scary, but it wasn't true. Like, it wasn't true, and it doesn't have to be true. Okay? So yeah, try and get that balance between that. Green Aline, why is sugar so hard to quit? Because we perceive it's not that bad for us. Because we're designed for it. You know, so, right, the dopamine is designed, so the reward system in our brain, which is the reward pathways, which is to do with dopamine, which drives addiction, is designed for things like sugar. So sugar gives you high energy. Like, if we everything that we need to know about ourselves, if you rewind to our ancestors, there's answers there. And we used to go hunting for berries, and it gave us a lot of energy, so it tasted sweet. So we're actually designed to hunt for sugar. But the thing with dopamine is, the reason why we need to be motivated is because usually the things which are pleasurable in a tribal situation with our ancestors weren't easy to get. So, for instance, we get dopamine. So men get dopamine from pursuing women. You know, pursuit. It's not easy to get women. I mean, it's not the most difficult, but it's not easy. We've had someone on tonight talking about how they're struggling. So you need that motivator, and dopamine motivates you to go and get a woman. We need to eat. So they did a study with rats, and they took the dopamine receptors out of the brain, and they put food in front of the rats, and they didn't bother eating. They just starved to death. So hunting for food, very difficult. But if we get a hit of dopamine, like we do when we get sugar or drugs, alcohol, gambling, that hit of dopamine is a really good feeling. And it's addictive because we want to keep getting that feeling, because we have to go out and do the thing. The problem with our brains is it's a great design when we're living in tribes in the wilderness where resources are scarce. Food, sugar, sex, it's all scarce. Great. We don't live in that environment now. Life's too comfortable. We've got dealers that we can use our mobile phones. Like, I remember a time when you used to have to use 0800 reverse to ring me dad. Very few people paid for that, by the way. You know, but now we've got internet on our phones. You can order stuff off the dark web yourself. We've got alcohol everywhere. It's so accessible. We've got porn. You can just as easily be watching porn as you can talking to me, and it costs as much. We've got gambling where it's just everywhere, like flashing lights. Come just put in £1, we'll give you a free bet. So sugar is in everything, and the government is saying, buy me. You know, like it's everywhere. And we've fed it as kids. I feed it to my own kid. Do you know, like, I'm not pretending to be someone perfect over here. And it's really hard to quit because we're designed to hunt for sugar. And also it's so readily available. And this is where alcohol is such a hard addiction. Because people who struggle with alcoholism, they're getting it rubbed in the face all the time, and it's so hard. People who smoke weed, there's someone who comes on here all the time and they struggle with a weed addiction, and they've got a weed dealer below them, but I smell weed all the time just being out and about. So yeah, it's a long rant, but I hope that explained it. Do low carb, yeah. I eat a whole grain is another user. Text said do low carb or whole grain, yeah, which is the same difference. Oh, JP, sugar is hard to quit because it gives us energy, and the more you have it, the more your body craves. Like any addiction, yeah, exactly. Do you know what it is? Could have just said it like that. I give the long-winded version, but in a nutshell, yeah, it does give us energy, and the more you have it, the more your body craves it. And I've cut it out in the sense that I don't have sweet treats, but it creeps back in, and as soon as I start eating it, it becomes more difficult. Oh, I'm just gonna put my phone on charge, guys. By the way, I haven't said this yet. If anyone hasn't subscribed, can you please subscribe? It's so helpful to us. Obviously you don't have to, but yeah, that'll be really helpful. Angel, I have a bad addiction. I actually thought... I'm not even reading that out loud. That is for you to deal with, Angel. You do not sound like an angel in that. Green Aline, guys, it's such bad karma to troll a woman like this trying to help people. That tells me you're not focusing on your own success in life. Yeah, trolls are funny. I find the concept of trolling really interesting because everything we do is a mirror of what's going on sideways. So I've got an example of this. I used to judge people. I used to fat shame people in my own head. And I'm going to hold my hands up to that. And I used to go around going, God, I wouldn't wear that. Why are they wearing that? And you know why I used to do that? Because I used to fat shame myself. I used to hate my body. And I started working on that. I realised, oh, hang on a minute, I'm judging other people about the very thing I'm judging myself for. And I realised I felt guilty. I started changing. The way I changed it is by starting to love myself. So I find trolling really interesting because you're projecting. So if someone's going around spurting hate and spurting negativity, that is because internally we're not loving ourselves. We're quite negative towards ourselves. So what we do is we go out there and we make other people feel small so we can feel big. And I'm not shaming you here. I'm just holding up the same mirror that the trolling is holding up to you. And as soon as we realise this about ourselves, that everything negative that we put out in the world is a projection of the negativity that we put into ourselves, we can start to say, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not helping me, I'm not helping others, I'm reinforcing that negativity, which means I'm reinforcing it in myself, so it's an opportunity to learn. And I tell you what, if you start to put positivity into the group, like Green Aline is, you'll start to produce oxytocin. And you'll rewire your brain and you can start to put love hormone into your brains. You can start to love yourself. It's so much more positive. But if you want to troll us, it's absolutely fine. I don't mind. I don't mind taking the hit. If it makes you feel good, then go for it. But ask yourself, why are you going for it? Say wag, I'm taking estrogen. Can I keep that habit? Look, we all have habits. We're habitual creatures. It's all just part of it. Our brains like they go like right. We've all heard it's like riding a bike. Personally, I can't ride a bike. I fell into a bush of nettles when I was younger. But we know the saying. It's like riding a bike, and that's highlighting this concept that once we learn something, once we've got a neural pathway, it's a habit and we're just going to do it unconsciously. So, we all have habits. It's about deciding, is this habit helpful? Is that trolling helpful? Is it helping me and helping others? It's a habit. Is going to the gym a healthy habit? Yeah, it probably is. So we just need to take stock of our habits and decide, is it helping or is it harming? Is it helping me love myself and others more, or realistically, is it just racking up shame and pain? If it is, let's learn how to undo the habit. And why have we got that habit? Where did it stem from? Right. Jamster, isn't it unfair how the same addiction can lead to different things for different people? It's unfair. Cannabis addiction has ruined my life. Yeah, I really do get that. James, is it something that's still ruining your life, or have you managed to get over it? Because you're absolutely welcome to come and do the support group if you want. But yeah, it is, and it's a drug of choice. And I said this morning, it can be helpful to look at why did that drug or alcohol or addictive behavior get you and not other people. So first of all, look at what's driving addiction in the first place, because it's self-medicating. Second of all, what is it that weed's bringing you? Is it because you're bored, or is it because it helps dial down your brain? Like, it helps you feel chilled. So try and work out what is it about weed specifically, because there's usually clues on how to counteract that in why we've chose the specific drug or behavior or alcohol. So for me, ketamine, it sedates, it's a sedative. So it was sedating my brain. I needed to learn how to calm my anxiety, essentially, which hasn't been easy. It also disassociated us. I felt very disassociated. So I could talk about trauma and I could deal with my surroundings better. Because I was living in La La Land. Planet of my nut. I was like a dream-like state. So yeah, find out what is it for weed about you, and we can explore it together in the comments section if you want. Right, let's see. Mark, what's my plan for world domination? Oh, if I could dominate the world, I'd just try and, honestly, if I could get everybody just to love themselves, imagine if everybody loved themselves enough to be authentic, just like no F's given, unapologetically 100% themselves, and they were accepted. Could you imagine what kind of world that would be? Everybody would be just doing what they love. Everyone would be supporting each other. Nobody be projecting on each other. Would have, like, imagine if everybody loved themselves enough to live the best life. Like, that one person could maybe have a cure for Ebola. Another person could help with addiction. Another person could do, I don't know, write a really cool book. Another person could make the funniest TV show in the world so everyone's laughing. Like, my friend, she's so authentically and unapologetically herself, and she makes chihuahua dog clothes. And she has got a little clan of nutters who love chihuahua dog coats, love to dress the chihuahuas up in dresses, and they love it. Like, imagine if everyone's just doing what they loved, unapologetically. So if I could dominate, if I was going to have world domination, that I would, like, attack it with love. I'd go in full force, world war love. Miss, did you have an addiction? Yeah, ketamine was the worst. Sugar. What are you, a counsellor, Carlos? Yeah, I'm a therapist, addictions therapist, and trauma. I've worked with veterans, mainly worked with lads, men, boys, not on purpose, but just I have happened to work with a lot of lads, but I've worked with a lot of girls as well. Jamstown majority, yeah. Right, user said, for sugar addiction, look up a woman called Bitten Johnson, if nobody's seen that. So that's Bitten, BITTEN JONSSON, for sugar addiction. Thanks. Yeah, also, like, thanks, user. I really like it when people share their knowledge. It's really helpful. So, like, I encourage people to answer other people's questions, because realistically, I learned a lot of stuff in textbooks, and I realised that a lot of it doesn't work. And the best way I learned was doing it myself. So anyone who's been there, done that, please do share. Like, people can benefit from it. Hayden, shout out to us soldiers in recovery. Shout out, mass respect. Yeah. And do you mean soldiers as in veterans, or do you mean as in soldiers as in like we're taking on recovery? Because I wrote an article which got published actually for addiction, and it was called 6 Ways to Battle Addiction. And it literally framed addiction as going against a war against yourself, going to war against addiction and that voice inside your head. So and it was framed in the reference of soldiers, because it literally does feel like you're going to war. You're in the bloody trenches. Militant prepping. Looking the way you do, you must have had a fun life so far. It's had ups and downs. I've definitely had me downs, that's for sure, and I've definitely had me ups. I think that's been the problem, though. There's been points in my life where I've thought, wow, I don't think I don't think many people get to experience this level of joy and excitement and just randomness and wonderfulness. And there's been points in my life where I've just thought, like, I really don't want to be here. So that's been the problem. It's been that roller coaster. And I think, during that time, I've been off my nut on alcohol and drugs pretty much every day up until I was 33. I've also had undiagnosed neurodivergence, which definitely contributed. But yeah, I have had a fun life, but it's also been hard. And I don't know how many people who are listening can relate to that. How old am I? 36. 43-year-old, are you asking me? Waboo, I'm not 43. I think I'd look good if I was 40. I'd like to look like this when I'm 43 though. Definitely. Right, best way. I've got my friend actually, she's 42 and she's banging for 42. She looks so good. She's my goals. Right, best way to, so Green and Lean is saying, best way to break sugar addiction is to eat a large serving of fruit as your first meal each day. Pineapple works best. Yeah, absolutely. And that's like natural. And that's the type of sugar we're actually designed to be getting. And if you look at the amount of sugar in fruit compared to what's in chocolate bars and processed food, it's ridiculous. There's something I saw though, if you eat fruit, not to eat it with something else, to have it by itself, because there's something about how it goes through your digestive tract. Apparently we digest sugar a lot faster than other foods, so it's good, like Green and Lean said, to have it by itself, fruit. I did a sugar addiction course actually, and you've just reminded us, one of the things it said was to switch up for fruit. So think of it like a methadone, because we need sugar. We do need sugar. But if you think of it like if you're on heroin and they put you on methadone and you reduce down, so think of like sugar as a replacement, a healthy replacement. Carbs is another one. Wisdom, I was guessing 42. No, I'm 36. J Boomer, are you a boomer? I want to ask. I love boomers, me. I'm a millennial. I love boomers though. Militant prepping, alcohol is terrible. Yeah, I struggle with alcohol. It gives me such bad beer. Not if I have a couple of glasses. So I had, the last time I had a drink was I had 2 glasses of red wine when I went for a meal with my dad, and it was spread out over a few hours, and that was really nice. I was having it with food. I love the taste of red wine. I didn't feel bad the next day. It was, I wasn't even remotely tipsy. But I just hate being drunk. The last time I got drunk, I ended up having a disagreement with someone. I was upset about something. And because I was drunk, I got loose lips. And because I was drunk, I try to be, not always. I try my very best to just be calm and regulated. Look, I'm not perfect. But I had got drunk and I couldn't regulate my emotions. I couldn't say what I was thinking. I was just like, and I came away from a situation that I felt was quite valid. Like it was valid that I had the feelings I had, but the way I handled it, I was so ashamed. And then I woke up the next day with like ridiculous beer fear, self-loathing, hating on myself for how I behaved. And then it took us quite a few days before I was like, oh my God, well, actually, quite valid I was feeling. So I escalated, like the self-hatred I dialed up, but also how I handled myself, not proud of. And and that was the last time I drank, actually. I had a conversation with a person and they said, I think that maybe alcohol hasn't been helpful. And I was like, yeah, I think you're right. And it was the way. I adore your voice, Boomer. Thanks. Militant, I drink every single day. I'm successful, but I'm wasting my opportunities because I drink instead. Militant, do you want to join me addiction group? I will have to do a one-to-one with you to join a group though, because alcohol is... So anyone who's listening, it's really important. I really need to get StreamYard so I can have these disclaimers dotted about. So, but for now, alcohol and benzocaines, it's really important that if you're gonna stop alcohol or benzocaines, that you don't just stop, because it can actually be really dangerous. So Militant, I'm happy to work with you. I'm happy to do a one-off harm reduction session, and I'm happy for you to do the free group. All of it's free. I don't charge for anything, by the way, guys. I just ask that people can subscribe and like and comment. But Militant, if you want some support, just comment on any of my content, shorts or All's Lives support group, and I'll give you my email address and I can make that happen. But yeah, aside from that, if you don't want the help, so Militant is saying there that I'm successful, but I'm wasting my opportunity because I drink instead. And this is great because it's not great. Sorry, that is not great. Just be clear. That wording wasn't great. What is great about this is you're starting to engage your long-term thinking. You're starting to... I'm hearing change talk. You're on ambivalence, what they call, where you're saying I'm still successful, so you're recognizing that I'm functioning, is what I'm hearing from you. I'm functioning, but I'm capping myself. And this is where we can start to do... This is the time to act in. It doesn't need to be I'm going to stop, but start to do more of that. First of all, stop thinking about long term. What would you do if you weren't doing it? What specifics? Start to set goals. And I think some one-to-one support could be helpful. Like I can help you do some extra stuff. But what essentially you're doing, and what I urge you to do more, is when we drink and when we engage with any addiction, and I say this all the time in my life, so sorry for boring the people who turn up, but when we engage in addiction, what happens is we're engaging... It's our limbic system in our brain, and what we need to start to do is strengthen and engage our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for impulse control. And part of that is done through long-term thinking. There's something called metacognition, which is about thinking about thinking. So, exploring your thoughts. Another thing is mindfulness, meditation. There's a lot of sport which does this, like martial arts is great, learning a new skill. There's lots of different things you can do. So you can even just Google, how can I strengthen my prefrontal cortex? Jose Lopez, am I late? Oh, because I'm getting tired. Wabaloo. I don't know what your name is. I know for a fact it's not that though. Feel free to laugh. Hopefully you're not getting offended. Wabaloo is saying, doesn't addiction come from trauma? Yes, most of the time. You could argue that sometimes it comes from undiagnosed mental health disorders, but I would argue, and a lot of the research says, that the majority of undiagnosed mental health disorders come from trauma, so yes. And yeah, healing the trauma would be the real fix, absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't need to be, right, tomorrow I'm going to heal my trauma. It's a really delicate balance with healing trauma and addiction, because if we start healing the trauma, what can happen is addiction can get worse. Because if we're opening Pandora's box, and that's overwhelming, the reason why we're addicted is to numb and medicate the trauma. If we start shining a light and amplifying the trauma, then what happens is we're more likely to lean into addiction. So it's a really tough thing to balance. It's a tightrope. So I would say, before you heal the trauma, heal the relationship you have with yourself first. Love yourself, build resilience, get the right support to do with trauma. it can be really good to do somatic healing for trauma. The body keeps the scores great. EMDR, havening, even just mindfulness, engaging the prefrontal cortex, because when we unearth trauma, the limbic system is going to be going crazy. We're going to be in fight or flight. So strengthening the prefrontal cortex, doing things to learn how to manage anxiety, because if we're going to lean into trauma, that anxiety is going to explode. So yeah, absolutely right, Webaloo. The only reason why I'm getting pedantic and picking it apart is I started healing my trauma and developed an addiction. So we need to be careful, but 100% true. William, do not feel lonely. The entire universe is inside of you. Yes, I fully agree. Honestly, that I find that so helpful. I'm not saying that everybody has to be spiritual. I'm not here to push faith, or a religion. But yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down there, William. And I tell you what, it's so much easier to handle life and face traumas and stuff when you feel spiritual. At least it was for me. And I think there's a reason why a lot of people who have addiction fall into spirituality and faith, because it can be such a helpful tool. It can. And I genuinely believe that for me, that loneliness that I was experiencing because I wasn't spiritual is something that maybe the addiction was to some part healing or filling. But I think so many different reasons for addiction for me. And I don't think it was spirituality alone, and I don't think you need to have spirituality. Jose Lopez, I haven't had a drop of regular beer for like 6 years plus. I feel great. Yes, I love that. Yeah, I'm not that far into not drinking. I did it for quite some time, but I wasn't in a position to drink. Like, I wasn't putting myself in social situations. I'm doing that now. I'm drinking and there's other people around us drinking, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult at moments. Mainly, I just feel proud of myself. It is a good feeling, and it's a great feeling the next day when you're like, I didn't do that. Oh my God. Yeah, what would you say, Jose Lopez, to anyone listening that you would say would be helpful for anyone on the precipice of recovery, or anyone who's in early days and just needs a bit of motivation? Keyboard, she's British, I am. Jose, I can tell you're from Scotland based on the accent. I'm not from Scotland. We will have this debate every time. I'm actually from Sheffield, but I've lived in Newcastle since I was young. So I'm from Newcastle, but I'll give you house points because I am close to Scotland-ish. But I am in a different country, I'm not gonna lie. It might be the ginger hair as well and freckles. I look a bit Scottish, I imagine. Right. I love this. Someone said addiction turns into passion, and then somebody else said, or prison. Love it. Right, I'm going to go through, oh God, there's loads of comments at the bottom. Right, I've been stuck in the middle. I'm going to do a few comments. I'm going to give it 10 minutes. Right, Tay Mason, hated waking up and seeing blue uniforms though, the egg. Were you in prison? Is that what you mean? Is that what the blue uniforms were from? Right, let's see. Gregory, I beat drinking 2 years ago. Please give me 5 punches like playing boxing. Is that a positive thing? Like, what do you mean 5 punches? What do you mean by punches? But the 2 years, absolute positive. Like, that is unreal. 2 years is brilliant as well, because by 2 years, research shows that pretty much everyone's brain has rewired. So you've successfully rewired your brain, and you've done it with drinking, which honestly, anyone who can overcome drinking is some boy or girl. Oh, Taming, not prison, hoarding cells for the night. I can't imagine that was fun. Did you have to wear the grey outfit? Oh my God, she talks too much and I'm sleepy. Oh, I hope I've got you ready for bed, because I struggle to sleep. So I could do with someone talking me to sleep. Right, Tay Mason. Hated waking up and seeing... Oh, I've already read that one. Right, let's go through and see somebody else. I can see messages are retracted, so I feel like I've got a moderator on here, but I haven't came across you. Chris Law, what language are you speaking? English. Newcastle Geordie. God, right, let's see. I'm going to try and get some people who I haven't spoken to. Hi, Wilco. Jareen. Should be, could be, doesn't make the unfair world run. Yeah, that's the thing. We've all got to accept, like, life is good and bad. You've got to just take it as it comes. And just learn resilience. Yeah. And not toxic positivity, that's not helpful either. Because I went through a stage of that, like, it's fine. And it just was not fine. Right. GS has said, what was my thing? Ketamine was the worst one. Green Aline is saying, right, horn pain. Right, I'm going to see what horn pain has said and then see what Lane. Right, I am in the most painful period of my life. Stopping porn, addiction, divorce, homelessness, unemployment. Yeah, I really, really empathise with you. I went not the same, but I got hit with a million things at once. Within like a short space of time. So mental health, sectioned, addiction, recovery, became a single parent, and then on top of that you've got homelessness. Oh yeah, I really feel for you. Homepage, if you want some support, I offer free one-to-one for people who are struggling, and you definitely qualify for the people. It's not just for anyone. But I'm definitely happy to support you. And I also am starting an addiction support group for people in active addiction or early recovery, or who's struggling to sustain recovery. If that's something, homepage, that you're interested in, just comment on any of my content, support group or one-to-one. But I'd say what Green Alina said. Pain often leads to growth and a better relationship with God. It has purpose. My suggestion is view this as an opportunity to become a better person. God wants you to become righteous. And yeah, I would say, that's the faith-based approach, which I think absolutely does help a lot of people in recovery. And Green Lean, I really hope you know that I'm not dissing faith. Just part of my ethos on here is I want it to be inclusive to everyone. And I know that everybody has different beliefs, and some of that is atheist. So I don't want to, that's why I'm not going against you. My grandpa was a vicar and I'm spiritual. But I also believe that we don't have to be religion and we don't have to think of God. But the thing that Green Alina is saying is absolutely applicable, because if we can start to deal with that pain, there absolutely is growth to be had because of that. Like if now that I've got through, and it's easy for somebody who's done a lot of work on themselves and who's healed a lot of trauma and who has loving supportive people around us now. I wouldn't have felt this way in the past, but I would, if I had to go through all the pain I've been through, and I've been through abuse, sexual trauma, a lot of trauma. I'm not going to sit here and list it. I've been through a lot, but it's made us who I am today. And I wouldn't have my son, I wouldn't have the friends I've got, I wouldn't be sat here today if it wasn't for that pain. And I've learned a lot of stuff about myself through it. but I needed the safe space to do that. I needed the right people. I needed the right support. And I know that's not everyone's experience, but yeah, Green to Lean is on the mark. Pain can be turned into growth. And unfortunately, we can't take away our pain, but we can find ways to create a silver lining from it and to heal it. And I also have a really great trauma therapist that I can signpost you to as well. Right, last question, because I'm starting to get really tired. Right, Greg. What's Greg say? Give 4 punches like playing boxing for my successor already subscribe. I feel on the spot now. Don't make us feel socially awkward. I'm not going to punch into a screen, but I'm doing 4 metaphorical punches for you. And yeah, thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Right, let's see one more question. I've actually just bought myself a punching bag and some boxing gloves for me and my son for Christmas from Santa. I'm quite excited. He practices jiu-jitsu with us, so... Right. Let's see, one last thing. Right, let's see. Treat addiction, user said, treat addiction first, then the trauma. Yeah. But if you... Yeah, I would say treat addiction, do it through creating a space that is going to make healing the trauma possible. Like I keep saying, learning to love yourself. So yeah, I fully agree with that. I just think it's important that we don't only treat the addiction. We've got to treat the relationship we have with ourselves as well as the addiction. And we have to, through doing that, we'll build up resilience, we'll build up pride, we'll build up self-love and compassion, and then we'll be in a better headspace instead to deal with the trauma. But yeah, great advice, user. Right, well, I've had a lush time. Thanks for letting us troll, apparently. I don't feel like you've been trolling Tay Mason. Oh, you might have been, I haven't seen it if you have. Anyways, I've really enjoyed tonight. I'm really tired. I'll be back on Monday morning at 9. No, God, I can't even speak anymore, guys. 10 a.m, 9 p.m, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, GMT time. And if anyone hasn't subscribed, that would be really helpful. Thanks for everyone who's been trolling. You've been pushing us up the algorithm. I do suggest you go and look at why you're trolling though. But yeah, I appreciate it. And thanks for everyone who supported and asked comments and liked and everything and subscribed. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go to sleep now, guys. I'll see you soon. We don't even know what troll means. Learn it. It's like, oh, it's where people go on... Okay. A troll is somebody who goes onto social media, like behind a keyboard, and says mean things to people. So like, for instance, somebody's been saying I'm sending them to sleep. Instead of just going to sleep or going and watching something that's not sending them to sleep, they just go on behind the keyboard and say things, and it's called trolling. It doesn't really, it's like neither here nor there, really. It doesn't bother us. But from a psychology point of view, the counsellor in us is asking, just putting a mirror up to why are you feeling the need to go onto people's social media and put people down. But anyways, oh, I love you in a not creepy way. I love that. I love being loved in a non-creepy way. No, thank you so much. I know what you mean. I'm just joking. And yeah, I really like that. It's nice to hear good feedback. It's good to know that I'm resonating with people and the right people. Anyways, and thanks to everyone for showing up. I'm going to go and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.